Just letting you know, this is only my spoiler first impressions of the episode. Check my pinned comment for a free gift related to this video. And to watch my unfiltered reactions with exclusive bonuses, join my Ashamoji TV club. The link is in the description box below. Now, here's my afterthoughts of this episode of Supernatural.
This episode is definitely worthy of a rewatch. I am a bit on the fence what I think about certain parts of it, mainly because I think I've misunderstood some of the dialogue, or maybe just didn't grasp really what they were trying to convey, especially the scene between Magnus and Dean. So, my 2 cents so far after my first watch, maybe temporary, and I'll kind of give a final verdict after getting some feedback, corrections, what thereof, and rewatching the episode loosely, because when I rewatch them, I'll be honest, it's kind of during like my lunch periods while I'm working, and I'm in and out sometimes with my attention, and I'll kind of forward to certain scenes that I really wanted to pay attention to when it comes to the dialogue. Like, for instance, that scene between Magnus and Dean. I think there was a lot going on there that I didn't really grasp, really. Or maybe I did, but I'm just not sure. Anyway, okay. The scene I ended up picking that I really enjoyed, like if I had to fast forward to one scene in this episode, it would be the moment where Sam and Dean are intervening, the little mini intervention with Crowley the blood junkie. I thought that was really cool to watch because it's such a different way to see Crowley at this point, and it's a nice change to have them kind of talk down to him when he's usually the one talking down to them, right? I really enjoyed that. And because I am a fan of the Crowley character and I'm a huge fan of Mark Sheppard as an actor, I'm excited to see how he is going to depict this version of Crowley that seems very vulnerable and needy for Sam's acceptance, which is interesting. And just now, the way they ended it, how much of that was real? Because was it to get his approval, get his validation, and then maybe he would have not made the choice he did at the end? Maybe they would have had an actual partnership and things would have unfolded differently. I said out loud that I don't blame him for making the decision he did because, self-preservation. Right there in the moment, Sam was ready to use the blade and kill him. And in some way, just a tiny bit, okay? So for you Sam connoisseurs, correct me if needed, guide me with a different perspective. But at this point, it just seems a little bit close-minded from Sam specifically, someone who I interpret as being a lot more open-minded than Dean on certain things. And it just seems so close-minded that he doesn't even want to acknowledge pretty much everything Crowley was telling him that he should acknowledge in terms of what he's done to help them. And I know on one end, it's an easy argument to be like, well, you can't blame him after everything Crowley has put them through. A lot of the problems they have endured in the last few seasons is because of Crowley, right? So I understand that part of it. But in the moment, with the given circumstances, and to also just kind of open up that doorway of possibly thinking that a person can change. So maybe that's in and of itself its own subtext to kind of consider, but I just find it just a tad bit close-minded that Sam, of all of them, but especially between him and Dean, wouldn't have considered, okay, he's making some good points. Maybe we should kind of give a little bit of leeway. And it's not like they haven't, right? Because whether they needed to, they did in this episode, hence why he was there to help them wherever with the whole thing with finding Magnus and all that stuff. It's fascinating. Anyway. So that's my scene. Now, as an episode, it was very entertaining, and I am so enthralled and really captivated with what is going on with the blade and Dean and his connection to it and the feelings. And with the tribal music that they were playing there towards the end, and then they called him a killing machine, so I guess this is going to foster within him, or not I guess, I think it's pretty much clearly showing that the blade has a, I was going to say murderous, but perhaps that's not really the right word. I'm not sure what the word is that I'm looking for, but it essentially empowers Dean physically and emotionally to kill. Like, straight up. I mean, to call him a killing machine, and perhaps the feelings of it is so overwhelming, as Jensen is quite good at showing in the scene. So that's really fascinating. I look forward to seeing how that's going to go. And when you're seeing Dean in that way, I guess I'd have to go back and rewatch that episode with Kane, because I think Kane made reference to the violence, right? Something like that. And I do remember club members comment to me about it. Okay. That was cool. That's what I'm getting at. That was really cool. And how it's going to now play out with Abaddon. And I like the whole thing where they're showing it very similar to how whenever there's a political campaign going on, you have both sides trying to find dirt on each other, spying on each other, sabotaging each other. I like how they're doing it in the supernatural way with him and Abaddon. I think that's really fun. Especially that she's not in the episode, but yet her presence and her influence is quite clearly shown with the demons vandalizing baby. Ooh, thunder. Thunder and lightning right now outside, so if you can't hear it, kudos on me for the audio engineering aspect of that. Okay, so let me get right down to it with my Ashamoji. I'm kind of stalling because I'm unsure. I'm teeter-tottering between a 4 and a 5 because there's a lot presented that was so nicely surprising, especially with Magnus. Did not expect him to be some crazy-ass collector wizard. I call him wizard, but, just a spell maniac. And I'm kind of saddened a little bit that I'm saying died with quotes, because I'm like, with this guy's level of power, is he really dead? Right? I thought the trickster was dead, so, let's put it this way. If he comes back, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a 4. Only because, just saying it out loud doesn't even feel right. I'm gonna give it a 5. Because I think there's just stuff that I'm not getting, but is quite cool to visually see anyway. And it was very captivating from beginning to end. And when you have Crowley in the mix, for me, who's a Crowley fan, it's always fun. And it's interesting, because I know I've taken note of the pattern of episodes that doesn't have Castiel, and then I can pretty much predict which users, especially on YouTube, will find the episode boring. And yet when Castiel's in it and it's a slow-paced episode, they'll think it's like, the best thing ever. So for me, it's kind of the opposite. When it comes to Crowley, I feel he enhances the episode, and maybe I'm a bit biased with my Ashamoji judgment because of that. And then there's some of you who have admitted to me that it doesn't even matter what's going on. Every episode of Supernatural is a 10 for you. So, to each their own, right? So, there you have it. That's my reaction to episode 16 of the 9th season of Supernatural. I very much look forward to your comments about this episode, since there's so much to kind of touch on. And, let me know if you can remember if you did watch this episode when it first aired on TV, what were your thoughts and feelings initially about this change with Crowley and humanizing him in this way? Did you like it, or are you more in preference of him just being like the iconic villain that he's always been? I don't know. Just let me know. Let me know what your initial impressions were on your first watch, if you can remember that far back, or perhaps you've just recently watched it yourself, because I am aware of some users who are watching use Supernatural alongside with me for the first time, which is kind of weird, but hey, it's a thing. Alright, so there you have it, as I said. And if you want access to my full reaction to this episode, as well as other goodies that I provide my club members, details on joining my club is in the description box below for you. So until my reaction to episode 17, getting closer to the end, people, getting closer. Thank you very much for tuning in, and peace out for now. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos.